All right, Sam, how you doing after last week's episode of The Mandalorian?
Very funny.
Yeah?
No.
What'd you think about that, BB-N8?
Oh, I loved it. And I also thought it was a great episode of Book of Boba Fett.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting to deal with this. Sam, are you going to be able to make it through this episode without blowing your top in you?
Yeah, I might go a little dark side. No,
No.
I'll be fine. I'll be all right. I'll be all right.
Well, maybe talking about it a little bit will help.
Like therapy.
We'll give Samuel the Hutt that chance, along with a conversation about that old switcheroo on Superman and Lois, and our reaction to our first Halo experience. This is Tatooine Sons.
It's true. All of it.
What is the name of the porg on the Millennium Falcon?
Force is strong in my family.
What do you think his name is? It's a big moment.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Maybe Turbis?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Turbis? Pablo, if you're listening to this live stream, that porg's name is now Turbis. It's a good Star Wars name.
We're not done yet.
These guys recorded an awesome podcast called Tatooine Sons. Everybody was
This is a momentous anniversary.
What?
Today.
What?
Today is a big day.
I don't know.
How do you not know this? January 31st? You don't remember what happened January 31st, 2018?
Was that Turbis?
That was Turbis.
That was the day Turbis became
I didn't remember
real.
the date.
With it, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Turbis.
Turbis.
Birthday days.
I'm wearing my Turbis is Canon shirt. That didn't happen for a couple of years after
No,
that.
that did
Almost
not.
2 years, but this is the day.
The conception.
The conception.
Yeah,
That got weird fast. All right.
that was the idea.
I don't even know where to go from that. Welcome to Tatooine Sons, a pop culture podcast. We are the only fan podcast to name a canon Star Wars creature, which you just heard the anniversary is today, and be endorsed by Rian Johnson. You heard that one too. On that, that's the anniversary of that too.
Wow.
Wow,
Isn't that
really?
cool?
Yeah.
We believe that pop culture is.
Okay, wait. Is it really? Because we got up to him after midnight.
Ooh.
No, I don't think we got to
did.
him.
We got up to him after midnight.
So as you're listening to this, the Turbis is canon stuff happened before midnight. The Rian Johnson endorsement happened after. So as you're listening to this, February 1st.
So everybody gets
it's
to
the
experience the
anniversary.
anniversary.
It is.
There we go. We believe that pop. Are you guys ready to let me start the show?
Go ahead.
We're just having a conversation.
All right. Okay. We believe that pop culture is the mythology of this generation, that there is a story written on our souls, and that these myths speak to that story. And that is why we are talking about the return of the Mandalorian. Literally. A little bit of Superman and Lois fun with that, a little surprise that happened in there. And our crash course, basically, in Halo. I am David. I am the dad.
Hi, Dad.
Hello, gentlemen. I'm honored to be joined every week by my amazing sons, BB-N8.
Yes.
What you got going today?
Well, we finally got the reveal of the villain in Superman and Lois, and it is not who we thought it would be.
It is not who we thought it would be.
But it's a pleasant surprise,
Yeah, he
honestly.
told me about that.
Okay, so you have some knowledge going into
Yeah,
this
I know
episode?
who it is.
That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Sam, by the way, so you're talking about the Mandalorian, didn't you? and all
Haha,
that?
yeah. This episode of the Book of Boba Fett
So-
has kind of all the fans
It's a
talking.
really nice Mandalorian hat you're
but
wearing
with the notable lack of a certain character, and I'm just ignoring these comments at the moment. What are you talking about?
there. Well, I discovered this week that I know absolutely nothing about Halo, and I knew nothing. Like I was like not even in the same world as to what Halo was about before I watched that trailer.
Yeah, I don't know much, honestly.
I think Sammy and I played the first level at like a GameStop at one point.
But we weren't allowed to play it.
No.
we were never allowed
We-
to.
we-
but
and we
I
didn't.
need to.
Yeah, we need
play
to.
them. They're like one of the most famous
We'll
game
talk
series
about it
ever.
a little bit on here. Thank you so much to cufflinks.com for sponsoring this episode.
Thank
they
you.
have over 3,000 items on their website from Star Wars, Marvel, TC, Lord of the Rings, NFL, NCAA, Major League Baseball, NBA.
A.
Hey,
That was nice,
There we
Dad.
go. Got a hiccup there. And everything else that you can think of, we're very honored to be sponsored by cufflinks.com. Thank you guys so much for doing that.
They're the best.
Please follow the show on whatever podcast listening device, application You know what? A great book. Here we go. This is completely off the rails now, but this whole show has already been off the rails.
Yes,
Thanks, guys.
yeah. It's one of those weeks.
A book that's probably 25, maybe even, about 25 years old that I highly recommend for business people.
Sam, you're
and for
almost
marketers.
25. What are you talking
No,
about?
I'm not even
You're almost 21.
Yeah, anyway, is by a guy named Tim Sanders, and it's called Love is the Killer App. And anyway, so check it out.
It's like appetizer.
No,
right?
app like application is what that means. So anyway, please follow the show. I don't know why I brought that up. Brainy Pixel and Mercy Way Studios are coming Friday in our interview series. They're going to be talking about the Chronicles of the Faith comic book series. I had a great time talking with those
Very
guys.
cool.
Can't wait to talk about that with them on Friday. But enough talking about what we're going to talk about. Let's talk about what we're talking about. And it is The Mandalorian.
Yeah, that first episode of Mando season 3. The fifth episode of the Book of Boba Fett came out last week, and fans.
That's fans. Fans are having funs.
Yes, that's true. They're all buzzing about it, especially Rebels fans.
Which that you should be excited.
Yeah, that's really Nate's thing there. But we'll talk about all the biggest moments and more next.
Be on your guard. There are older and fouler things than orcs in the deep places of the world.
All right, then, keep your secrets.
Your coming to us is as the footsteps of doom.
There are many magic rings in this world, Bilbo Baggins, and none of them should be used lightly.
That's the furry Jawa
That was awesome.
thing. That was
furry
great.
Jawa?
Yeah, you were talking about like how what's her name? The chick at the mechanic.
The one from Elf.
Yeah. She was like talking about how she dated a Jawa. at
Yeah, I
some
knew
point.
that. I remember
But
that.
she was like, they're kind of furry.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so apparently
I forgot
Jawas are furry underneath all of the cloak and stuff. So
All right.
now that's a piece of information you know.
Awesome.
Anyway, I want to get y'all's ratings of this episode on a scale of 1 to 10 BD unit droids.
Claim it like that.
Yeah, that's good. I'll let you go first, Sam, or BB-N8.
I will give this one a 9, even with Book of Boba Fett being the series.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 9. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
I'm going to give it an 8.5.
Okay.
It was a great episode.
So I'm really curious about this because in between segments here, BB-N8 was informing me we didn't get to watch this together.
No, you were out of town.
I was out of town, so I watched it and found out later kind of your reactions. But BB-N8 says that you weren't very happy.
He was not.
No, I have a little mini op-ed opinion editorial here at the end.
Opinion editor. You can just take over the dad moment with that.
Okay.
All right.
Sure.
So why don't we-
There's
didn't
no
wanna
life
write one,
lessons.
did
It's
you?
more just me venting a little bit.
Okay, that's fine.
but-
Sometimes you have to get it.
Anyway,
sometimes
let's-
dads just yell at their kids to vent. So
Oh, yeah. You do that all the time. That's a
know he
joke.
doesn't.
He doesn't.
do
He
not.
doesn't.
golly, now everybody hates me.
What
All
are you
right.
I'm gonna be like
They
Sam
already
after.
they already hated me. All right. Anyway, go ahead.
No. All right. This is a weird episode.
Yeah, go. Come on, let's go.
Okay, well, there was a lot of fun stuff in there, especially for Rebels fans.
Yeah.
You see Din Djarin using it in the beginning there when he's butchering the butchers with the Darksaber,
Great
and,
scene.
and he's not wielding it super well. He kind of burns himself and stuff, and then later on when he's training with the armorer, it's like getting super heavy, and he's having a tough time with it. And she's like, it gets heavier with each swing and stuff, which is cool because this exact situation happened in Rebels, right? Sabine won the Darksaber in combat and was being trained how to use it by Kanan Jarrus. And she's like, this is hard to use. I can't control it. And then there's this quote. He says, energy constantly flows through the crystal. You're not fighting with a simple blade as much as you are directing a current of power. Your thoughts, your actions, they become energy. They flow through the crystal as well and become a part of the blade. So that was kind of cool, like a cool little reference for us because we already knew that the Darksaber had that property. And then on top of that, they even talked about how Sabine gave Bo-Katan the Darksaber.
Yeah, that was the part that I really noticed.
Yeah, we had a
most.
question about that later on when we were watching Mando. We were like, how is she able to just be given it? Well, we find out that the Great Purge happened because she was just given it.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah, because she wasn't eligible to be a leader, and that's when we saw we actually saw the Great Purge in this episode when the Empire came and basically nuked Mandalore. We even see that city, I can't remember what it's called, but that bubble city getting destroyed. That was heartbreaking. But Nate, you're the biggest Rebels fan here. You're our resident Rebels fan. What were your thoughts on all of this stuff they had in there?
I absolutely loved it. Even if all of this stuff wasn't in the episode, it would have been a fantastic episode. But this was just the cherry on the top. I loved everything they did, especially the Darksaber stuff. That arc with Sabine is really amazing and shows that you don't have to be a Jedi to wield the Darksaber.
Yeah.
And it was the test of Sabine. I loved that arc and the whole storyline with that. And then them putting it into this with Mando and with his connections to Grogu and all of that stuff. Him knowing about the Jedi and learning about it. It really ties into how the Darksaber was created by a Jedi and a Mandalorian.
Yeah.
It's a really awesome thing that they're bringing this back. Of course, Dave Filoni worked on this episode, so he had a say in putting that in there. And I'm glad he's not forgetting Rebels.
Yeah.
No, it was super cool to hear the Darksaber, the Darksaber stuff and the great, what's it called?
The Great Purge.
The Great Purge on Mandalore. Those two pieces were, when I think I was messaging you guys. I started watching it just a little bit.
Yeah, you were a little bit before us.
Yeah. And I was just freaking out a little bit about it because that's the stuff that was amazing. And just so much lore building from the past coming back into this episode, making this this is the story starts to be a part of the continuity in Star Wars a little bit more as a result of that, both of Boba Fett and of the Mandalorian. Both of those start to fit into the continuity.
Yeah, and it's cool how we've kind of talked about how there's this Mandoverse concept. And it's kind of doing that, but it's also bringing in other things like Rebels. I mean, Rebels took place before even episode 4 started, and this storyline's taking place after episode 6. So it's really cool to see this one show tying in so many things all at once there. But then there was a lot of... I'm going to keep this segment light-sided. There was a lot of development.
It's really frustrated, isn't it?
There's a lot of development for Mando in this episode, which it was super fun. I mean, that was the whole episode, right? We find out he's still doing bounty hunter jobs.
Right.
He's the ruler of Mandalore, and he's still headhunting, literally. But then we find out that the sect, or what do they call it? The
Creed.
No. She calls it covert. Yeah. There's only 3 of them left. It's Mando, the Armorer, and the Heavy. Or I don't remember what his name
It was Heavy.
Yeah, he was a Vizsla. And he wins the duel, right? But he keeps the Darksaber, but he's no longer a part of the sect, which is huge, right?
Right.
And then, the Armorer makes him some little Grogu.
Armor.
Yeah, mithril armor for Grogu. And then he goes to Tatooine. I don't remember why he headed to Tatooine.
Because the mechanic chick
that's
said
right.
she had
Yeah,
something close to a Razor Crest or something.
And it wasn't anywhere near a Razor Crest, but it was awesome because it was a Naboo starfighter and everybody was freaking out about
There's
it.
a lot of people that are speculating that it is the Naboo starfighter that
Anakin flew. I mean, it very well could be. We don't know at this point. But the majority of the episode was them fixing up this starfighter, turning it into like a rat rod kind of thing.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and then it ends up with him. He's back on Tatooine, and he's approached by Fennec Shand to work for Boba, and that's how the episode closes out. Do you guys like what they've done with Mando so far? Does this get you
between
guys excited?
season 2 and season 3?
Right, yeah.
I love it. I think what they're doing is fantastic. Of course, because Jon Favreau and Bryce Dallas Howard did an amazing job with this episode.
Yeah, she's done fantastic with everything that she's done.
She knows Star Wars. She really does, and she knows how to handle it. And I loved watching this episode. I think that this is going back to the book setting of these shows. This is definitely the prologue of Mando season 3, and or just kind of like a little side story for it. Where are they at, I guess, is a good way of putting it. And I really loved seeing everything about this. It was awesome to see the Naboo starfighter. We got to see a couple of the Rangers of the New Republic again. And
the
New Republic is still looking for Mando and still looking for the crimes or how he was related to the Empire. And so that's also really interesting. I'm really excited to see that. This whole episode was just about how can we build the world of the Mandalorian better, and how can we fit that in, bringing in Boba Fett. So,
Dad?
First of all, a little Easter egg. I don't know if you guys realize this, but the second X-Wing pilot, the Republic,
the new one,
the one we haven't seen you didn't. He's actually the guy that played Luke Skywalker's body double in Mandalorian season 2.
That's cool.
So we get to see him on his face,
actual face
on camera again, which was really cool.
It's cool. It's kind of like them bringing in Matt Lanter.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very similar in that. Which, by the way, Matt, if you're listening to this show, we'd love to interview at Pensacon.
Yeah, we're going to be there.
Matt Lanter's definitely listening to this show.
I think he is.
Of course.
Totally.
You know, we are the only fan podcast endorsed by Ryan Johnson.
And that means much to him.
So much.
If he listened to the show, he'd know.
Yes.
So, anyway, this is definitely the weirdest choice of stories for them to have spent so much time on in this series. I loved it, right? I loved this episode. I loved from the moment I saw Din Djarin show up. I loved everything that happened until the very end. And what was the first thing I don't know. You guys said it to me
first.
I was waiting to say it and I didn't because I didn't want to ruin it for you guys, but you said it. This is one of the best episodes of The Mandalorian they've ever done.
Right.
It didn't have any Boba Fett in it.
Yeah.
With it. And that's the thing that's a little bit bizarre with it. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to connect that story in to this. But this has been the problem with the series, for my opinion, from the beginning, is that they don't really know where they're going with this series. And so they went down this path. Now, I also want to bring up the Bryce Dallas Howard stuff that you guys were talking about on this. She is fantastic.
She is.
Oh, yeah.
But let's not retcon the way that fans acted after that first episode she directed in season 1.
The one with the Krill farmers?
Yeah, with the Omera
Seventh
episode,
Samurai
the Seventh Samurai episode, right? People criticized that episode.
And now they're all loving it.
It's a fan. We loved it then.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one that introduced Cara Dune, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, it introduced Cara Dune.
Introduced the Crow farmer that you still think is going to come back.
I think Omera's coming back. I think that's her. That's Mando's love interest.
Okay.
With it, but all of that was a fantastic episode. But it was a criticized episode. People didn't like her some of the choices that she did in it and everything else. Now they're like, give her a Star Wars trilogy of films. With it, she did fantastic in that first episode. She did even better in the second one she did in season 3, or excuse me, season 2. I don't remember exactly. I remember watching it going, that one was fantastic. With it. And this one was even better than all of them.
Yeah, it was great.
With it. Let's just not, tell stories that aren't actually true. With that.
Right.
So let's walk that back. I think fans just got to be careful because she was criticized for that first episode. But overall, great episode.
Full of fun references and Easter eggs.
Of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
It fit The Mandalorian. It didn't fit Book of Boba Fett. In fact, Stuart texted me, I think it was Friday morning, maybe. He was watching it. And he's like, you guys, or he was just listening to the podcast. I guess he'd already watched the episode of Boba Fett. And he was like, you guys nailed it when you called this series the Book of Boba, or the Mandalorian series, season 2.5 on the last episode. Of course, we didn't come up with that. Lots of other people said that. Official people said that long before we did, but we brought it back up in the last episode. And that's kind of where this has gone. And I'm okay with that. We've only got, how many more episodes do we have?
2.
We got to do a lot in 2 episodes to make this work.
Hold up. There was a lot that happened in this one episode. A ton.
Not a lot that happened related to Boba Fett.
No, but they caught us up with Mandalorian and with everything and with the covert and with where Grogu is and everything in one episode.
They did. Yeah. Fantastic. But it's not a Boba Fett episode.
Y'all are, So, time for my rant.
Okay, I
need to get this out.
I'm going to go ahead and just do this because since he's going to go dark side, it's still applies.
I'm going to try and keep it clean.
All right.
I am your father.
All right. I'm frustrated. Okay. I loved this episode. Honestly, it was one of the best episodes of this series so far. It was also the only episode of the Book of Boba Fett that didn't have Boba Fett. And this is what frustrates me. They did something amazing with this episode. Like you said, Nate, lots of character development, lots of Easter eggs and references, lots of awesome action scenes. Everything a fan could want packed into one episode. But they didn't do it for the series' titular character. Which begs the question, if they can do it for Mando in one episode, why haven't they done it for Boba Fett in the last 4? There are still 2 episodes left, granted. But I'm ultimately left disappointed by this episode. Not by the episode itself, but by it showing the potential this series could have had so far.
Yeah, I think that you make a really valid point with that. And honestly, as the one who, you talk about BB-N8 being the Star Wars Rebels super fan in here, and we all are Star Wars Rebels fans.
Absolutely. I love it.
But you're the Boba Fett super fan.
I am.
I mean, I'm looking at a picture behind me right now.
Where I'm with Jeremy Bullock.
That you look nerdy as can be.
You do braces, everything.
Oh, it's
braces,
bad.
And
it's bad.
Skinny, little scrawny thing. But you were geeking out because you were standing next to Boba Fett. When this series was teased at the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian, you were losing your mind. You were more excited about that than Luke Skywalker showing up.
Oh yeah,
in that episode. And yet now you're frustrated with this show, and it's not because you have a headcanon. There's no headcanon you're trying to fulfill.
The
with
only
this.
headcanon I have for Boba is he's awesome, he looks cool, and he kicks butt. That's all I have for my Boba.
Right, but you didn't. I mean, the expectations. It's not like that you have these crazy expectations for the series. You just want the show to be about him.
I wanted the show to be about him and for him to be awesome. And the coolest thing we've seen in this episode so far is him flying by, doing the shooting, the flyby shooting with his Slave One, which was awesome. Don't get me wrong. But, they brought him in Mando season 2, and he kicked butt in every scene. He was awesome. He was just this imposing presence everywhere he went. And something just feels off in this series. I don't know what. I know I see the memes of people saying, Boba Fett is cool because he doesn't have any character and backstory. And then these same people are complaining because, hey, you ruined Boba Fett. He doesn't, he's not like that. And I get that people are like that. But it's not hard to give the character justice. The reason why people like Boba Fett is because he looks cool and he acts cool. All right.
That's a very big generalization.
That's exactly who Bill Boba Fett is. That's what he was in episode 5 and 6. Everybody liked him because he was standing there and he looked awesome.
That's true. But there are also a lot of people that are intrigued by who the character is. You have to admit that.
That's true.
So not every fan of Boba Fett is interested in seeing the concept and he looks cool. Or he stands there.
But they've only had lots of character development in this. And even then, it was just a lot of backstory to catch up to where we were.
I understand that. And I really do. But I want to say that, have you considered the fact that they have been having a lot of character development and stuff because they want to respect the character to the utmost level? They're not caring about him. They don't know where the series is going. They want to respect the fans and they want to respect who the character was, made by George Lucas.
So then do exactly what they did for Mando.
I get this.
With Boba. And everybody would be happy.
They created this character. This character has been for 40 years an established character, and there are people like you who really want to see this character done right. If they just went in and had 5 episodes of him just kicking butt, I'm sure you would love it. But the thing is, you wouldn't know who the character is. You wouldn't be any more interested in the character from 40 years ago than you are now. I'm a Hawkeye super fan. If they had a whole episode dedicated to Daredevil and Hawkeye, I wouldn't be disappointed because I understood that there'd be another episode dedicated that would have it tie into Hawkeye. There are 2 more episodes. We saw how much they did within 50 minutes. Everybody is freaking out about how this was just Mandalorian season 3, episode 1. And I get that. It was just Mandalorian. But there are a lot of points where you have to consider. We've had a lot of build up to this point. We've had a lot to go over, and they all want to respect this character. Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau would not just be doing this just to do it. They understand they understand the love of the fans. Okay. And I really do think that there's chances for this to come back.
I don't think they're purposefully, trying to do anything bad. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying everything they've been doing with Mando is what we've wanted for Boba. That's all I've wanted. I want him to be awesome. They've had character development for Mando. He's got this connection with Grogu. He's no longer in the sect. I mean, they did all this stuff in one episode, and I just haven't felt that connection with Boba. I mean, it's been interesting to see him connect with the Sand People and stuff, and that's great. But that's all it's been. There's been no, okay, that's Boba Fett moment for me, you know?
Okay, that's
I
fair.
want to see him don the helmet. He takes the helmet off a lot, which is, I get it. And that's fine. But part of what makes Boba Fett look so cool is the helmet. And he takes it off all the time. He's never really done anything crazy awesome. He's done, I mean, there was that fight in the first episode with the guards, but he got hurt, which I understand. He's old. He's got the back to tank, right? But then, you know, there was there was one scene in Tashi Station, which was kind of neat. And then there was the scene where he was running around the kitchen with the droids, which was kind of fun, I guess. But there's just not been a Mandalorian Boba Fett moment.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah,
that's
and
fair.
What they're trying to do is they're not trying to make another Mandalorian. They are trying their best to set Boba Fett apart from Mandalorian.
Right.
If you look at him, he's the complete opposite of Mandalorian. The
What
exact
they've
opposite.
done-
He's not a bounty hunter anymore. He is not ruthless. He is not vengeful. He is a person that rules with respect and wants to rule right. That is all he is. And I really do think that, and you gotta consider, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are probably scared out of their minds by how fans will react to this. They
right.
introduced Rose in Last Jedi. Nobody knew her, but yet fans hated on her because people already know Boba Fett. And so if they do this wrong, it is going to be bad. And so they're spending 4 episodes building who he is so they don't get it wrong. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are scared about this. With Mandalorian, they could do what they want. And
I don't know if they're necessarily scared. I think that they're, I'm hoping to kind of bridge this debate, which has been good. It's been really good. I appreciate this. To bridge this together, though, and kind of wrap it up. What we should have learned from Dave Filoni in Star Wars Rebels and what we should be learning from Jon Favreau in the previous 2 seasons of The Mandalorian is that nothing happens by accident. Okay. So all of these things come together. This to me, in some ways, not that it's not an amazing episode that had major character development with a character that everybody loves, and it was awesome from in every way, shape, or form. Okay, we all agree on that, right?
Yep.
Other than the fact that of all of those things, its relevance to this series feels like the Purgle episode of Star Wars Rebels. No relevance whatsoever, just a throwaway episode that doesn't fit into the whole story. But what we learned in Star Wars Rebels and what we've had to learn with Dave Filoni is that in the end, it all comes together. This was Dave's episode, wasn't it?
It was Bryce
Dallas Howard
and Jon Favreau wrote it.
That's right. Okay, that's right. We already talked about that. Sorry, I'm thinking ahead. I think that honestly, that what I'm hoping for is that we see in the last 2 episodes that episode brought in the Mandalorian for something that's going to happen in those final 2 episodes that's going to absolutely melt your brains and make Boba Fett fans weep for joy the way that Luke Skywalker fans wept for joy at season 2, episode 16, or the last episode of season 2, whatever, with that. And in the end, we're gonna be thrilled with this. I'm hoping for that. I really am. We'll see.
Yeah.
So
well, tomorrow is the series semi-finale of the Book of Boba Fett, and it seems like there's hopefully a lot of action to come with Boba and Mando teaming up. We think. You know, it's going to be a pretty fun time. So be sure to tune in to see what comes next.
Absolutely. All right. Let's do a little bit of movie moments.
Bad news first.
Come on, Dad.
Sorry. According to Sam, that last entire episode was bad news. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I get it. And I appreciate what you shared there with it. Let's just keep talking Star Wars. It's an all Star Wars bad news this week with special appearances by some legends of YouTube Star Wars.
This is not going to go the way you think.
Well, gentlemen, I did not wear any cufflinks.com yesterday.
Fired.
I just
leave.
I wasn't even in dress clothes and I wore cufflink stuff.
Yeah, come on. Where's your sense of dedication like his?
I was trying to wear Mardi Gras colors because I thought that the murder mystery dinner cruise that we went on was going to be Mardi Gras themed. And we got there and it was nothing to do with Mardi Gras. So I was a little confused.
Do they have Mardi Gras stuff on cufflinks.com?
I don't know. We should have checked that out. I don't have any of it though, so I didn't wear any of it. That's true. But so you were wearing a t-shirt and jeans.
I was wearing t-shirt and jeans because that was what all the rest of the youth were wearing.
After the Disciple Now weekend, which was cool. Did you have a good time at the Disciple Now weekend?
It was busy, and I'm still tired. I'm still recovering from it.
Literally.
Literally recovering from it.
BB-N8 got attacked by a massive football player.
Totally.
Yeah.
Landed on asphalt.
He landed on asphalt. He wasn't that massive. He's little. It wasn't. But anyway.
What
were you wearing?
I was wearing Batman socks because I've decided I'm wearing something Batman every week until the Batman comes out.
Yeah, Nate, before the weekend started, Nathan was like, man, I'm not going to be able to wear something Batman this weekend. I'm like,
wear the Batman socks.
I was like, yeah, wear the Batman socks. There you go.
So what did you wear?
Oh, my usual, the Mythosaur socks and the Boba tie.
Was it Boba Fett or was it the Mandalorian?
Dad, you gotta stop.
It has the Mythosaur on it though, which is associated most of the time with Boba.
It has been.
And then the cufflink, the tie bar. Cool. Yeah,
awesome. All right. Well, they've got lots of cool stuff. And we should check out to whether or not they have Mardi Gras stuff. Since we live here in Mobile. And most people don't know this. When they think of Mardi Gras, they think of New Orleans.
But that's not.
That's not the
case. Birthplace of Mardi Gras is right here, Mobile, Alabama.
Yippers.
Mobile.
So
Mobile, Alabama.
We'll probably go to a couple parades. It's been a long time. Have you guys been to a Mobile parade?
No, I've only been to ones in like
Gulf Shores doesn't count. Mobile is real.
It's like two.
It's real Mardi Gras, except no shirts being lifted. They don't do that.
They don't do that like in New Orleans.
No,
good.
It's much more family. It's designed to be family friendly.
Do they throw? I just want some moon pies and beads.
Lots of moon pies.
I've gotten hit in the head with beads.
You want moon pies?
Yeah, I've gotten hit in the head with bees.
They hurt. The big ones.
They hurt.
Yeah, but they probably do have.
I would imagine. I mean, they've got stuff. Like 3,000 items on the website with not just cufflinks, because I don't think anyone of us wore cufflinks this week, which is ironic. But we did wear ties and tie bars and socks. We don't have money clips though.
We need to get. Well, I don't ever carry cash.
I don't really have cash anymore. But they've got all sorts of other stuff too.
Yeah.
Hopefully Mardi Gras themed.
And if you want to save money on it, how can they do that?
Well, I mean, you can use the code Tatooine15 at checkout to receive 15% off everything on the site with no minimum order required.
I think that was our most natural segue.
It was good.
Ever.
It was good. That's right. Head on over to cufflinks.com today. Remember to use the code Tatooine15, like Tatooine, like the planet that Din Djarin went to in the Book of Boba Fett.
I'm gonna start throwing punches.
Dad, you have to stop.
The episode that didn't have Boba Fett.
Dad,
but Boba Fett's on Tatooine. So Tatooine 15, use that at checkout, save 15%, and make Samuel the Hutt happy.
Well, you want the bad news or the really bad news?
All right. So Ahsoka Tano's show rumored to retcon.
What?
The sequel trilogy.
How many times has this been cycled through?
The sequel trilogy retcon.
Whenever they need Star Wars content. We got this covered. It has this clickbait bad news covered this week with what even they are labeling as an unsubstantiated
wow,
rumor.
That's saying something from them.
The claim is that the new Ahsoka series will change the entire sequel trilogy.
Whoa.
The best part is the claim comes from the notorious liar and toxic Star Wars YouTuber Doomcock. On his latest video, he claims, and I quote, Favreau and Filoni are working to retcon the sequels out of canon on their own authority without consulting anyone else at Lucasfilm.
It's like they think that Dave and John just work off on their own little studio.
He goes on, the moment Luke took Grogu, everything in the timeline changed. Luke knows Grogu is being hunted at the end of The Mandalorian, even though he's not sure why. Luke training Grogu is putting a chain of events into motion that will erase the sequel
So this
trilogy.
is like Loki, like that one episode of What If.
Yeah, exactly.
The multiverse exists in Star Wars.
A chain of events that begins in Chapter 13. The Jedi with Ahsoka up to this point has already changed the Star Wars timeline, and her entire purpose moving forward is to continue changing the timeline away from the sequel trilogy. So I don't know, world between worlds, multiverse, silliness.
Yeah, I don't know.
Honestly, this guy is nuts. And he's a complete fraud, and he's been proven as such so in the past. Thankfully, we got this covered. Even knows better than to report this as anything other than an insane attention grab, which is all that it is. Unfortunately, their own headline, though, doesn't give that away. So while the actual content from this YouTuber is like not even a 10, it's like a 48 on the scale. As it goes to the headline itself and the article, I'm going to give it a clickbait level of 7.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
All right.
Yeah, well, this is an exclusive Darth Maul live action series in the works. Yeah. Giant freaking robot.
Yay.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, must have needed to drum up some Star Wars content for their site this week. So they decided to rehash an old rumor about a new Darth Maul series. It's a long article that goes into great detail about the character in Star Wars canon, while only having a couple of sentences related to the headline. The most important being that comes from their trusted and proven sources.
Of course.
Throw enough out there, they'll be sure to get one right eventually.
That's kind of what they're trying to do, I think.
Yeah. Who knows if this is one of them? Yeah. So this one's getting a level 6. Okay. We don't know either way.
It could happen, could not happen. But again, trusted and proven sources.
Yes.
Wait till they're proven for real.
Okay. Yeah, pretty much.
Tron Legacy star rumored to play Rey and Kylo's son in Star Wars reboot.
The timing on this is funny.
Yeah,
Okay,
you guys were like watching Tron Legacy when we came home from our date.
So last night we were sitting there, y'all were at your dinner party, and Nathan and I spent probably half an hour trying to find a movie to watch because we were not agreeing on stuff. And eventually we decided on Tron Legacy. That's always been a go-to for us.
Oh, it's great.
So we're watching it, we're loving it, and I'm like, I haven't seen this actor in anything before this movie came out or after. Huh? The actor for Sam. Yeah. I'm like, I haven't seen him in anything. And then we talk about this.
Find this article. There we go.
We got discovered must have been growing more aware of their reputation. Dad, you typed this up really weird. Must be growing more aware of their reputation for terrible clickbait articles because they're calling out another infamous YouTube trickster.
Wow, we're getting
this article is about the king himself.
Yeah, here we go.
Mike Zero.
Yeah.
Who claims that Disney is developing a new Disney Plus series following a new Virgins in the Force. Dad, are you okay?
I was tired.
You were tired, yes. In the Force, born supernaturally to Rey Skywalker. Supernaturally. Wow, I'm not surprised. It's Mike Zero. Mike Zero continues by claiming...
Yeah, he's basically the Virgin Birth. It's like Anakin all over.
Oh, so we're just doing this again. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Continues by claiming that the series is already in talks with Garrett Hedlund to star as Cade Skywalker, a character already explored in the Legends continuity. Garrett Hedlund is probably best known as playing Sam Flynn in Tron Legacy. Sounds cool. But it's Mike Zero, so it is not clickbait level of 9.
Yeah. All right, so we got Doomcock and Mike Zero in on the same.
And Giant Freaking Robot, and we got this covered.
We got this covered. It was like a clickbait.
Everything.
It was a clickbait Bad News of Palooza. Well, that really sounded good.
Yeah, that was good.
Bad News of Palooza?
Yeah, there's a news segment.
I don't know. We might change the name of this segment. All right. Many of you have likely played hundreds or even thousands of hours of Halo since it released on Xbox in 2000.
Whoa, really? It's as old as me?
It is.
Wow.
The game series isn't something that we have spent any time with whatsoever. But the trailer for the Paramount Plus series released yesterday. So the question is, has this piqued our interest?
Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
Rebellions are built on hope.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
If you live long enough, you see the same eyes in different people.
He loves them. He recommends I play them right as soon as I can. So the Halo games. That's what we're talking about. Because it's the Halo
it is what we're talking about. Absolutely. But I mean, have you played much?
No,
you didn't. We weren't allowed to play them because they were rated M. But nobody really quite knows why they were rated M because you just shoot aliens. So it's kind of weird.
Is there any blood though with the aliens and stuff?
It's like purple blood. Yeah,
that's probably it.
I played Transformers.
This is 20 years ago though, and
the SRB's gone through weird phases.
Yeah,
it has.
But I want to play it now.
All right, so let's talk about before we get into the game conversation a little bit and the story and try to understand the story a little bit. We're not going to try to do any spoilers or anything on this. The goal is, what is the Halo TV series going to be about? What are some of the things that we can gather from some general understanding of the game, and then kind of go from there? Does that make sense? We're not trying to like spoil anything.
Yeah, just general conversation.
Yeah, just general conversation, and not really talking about the games in detail, like
right, because that's not the point.
Like that's not about this. So here's the official from Paramount Plus, the actual website about the Halo TV series. It says, in this adaptation for Paramount Plus, Halo will take place in the universe that first came to be in 2001 with the launch of Xbox's first Halo game, dramatizing an epic 26th century conflict between humanity and an alien threat known as the Covenant. Halo, the series, will weave deeply drawn personal stories with action, adventure, and a richly imagined vision of the future. The series stars Pablo Schreiber as the Master Chief, Spartan 117, Natasha McElhone, I don't know how to pronounce that, so I won't try to fix it, as Dr. Halsey, the brilliant, conflicted, and inscrutable creator of the Spartan super soldiers, and Jen Taylor as Cortana, the most advanced AI in human history and potentially the key to the survival of the human race.
Isn't it ironic that Microsoft chose their virtual assistant for their computers to be Cortana?
Hey, Microsoft made Xbox.
I know.
That's probably on purpose.
I know. It's crazy.
And I had absolutely no idea that was the connection.
Well, I have Windows. So,
well, I mean, I know I use Windows for work and stuff, and I get this like Cortana daily briefing.
Yeah, exactly.
Never even made the connection until you.
Me neither.
You just said that. Let's talk a little bit about the Halo game series. Okay, first of all, just based on the trailer that you guys watched. You guys watched the trailer.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
All right. Based on the trailer, which I watched as well, and that description, thoughts on this series so far?
Oh, I'm excited.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, I'll watch it. Definitely.
I'm down for a sci-fi action series. I mean, I don't have any previous expectations or headcanon going into this because I know very little about this series and haven't played the game. So I'm cool for a wild ride. Yeah.
It's kind of nice not having headcanon for a minute.
Yeah, it is nice.
The Boba Fett
it's
thing.
refreshing.
All right.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I thought the trailer was really good, surprisingly well done. I know that this series is getting looked under a magnifying glass by a lot of people, but honestly, just for a person that doesn't know about the series, it's a lot of fun, and I'm excited to see what they do. And the thing is Paramount Plus hasn't done much with their original series. This is definitely their biggest one yet.
Well, the Star Trek stuff has been pretty.
It's been that's been pretty big, but this is a new territory, and they aren't like Netflix, so they don't have experience in this world. So just gonna see what happens.
I honestly had no idea what the Halo even stood for. I thought it was Halo, like a Halo paratrooper, like high altitude, low opening. I've always assumed that that's what this game was about.
I at least knew that wasn't the case.
I had no idea it was set in the 26th century. I had absolutely no idea it had aliens. I literally thought
were way
it was
lost.
like a Call of Duty type
not at
thing
all.
with
That's
paratroopers, and I literally, that's how completely uninitiated I was.
Wow.
Into this entire game.
I thought I didn't know a lot.
Yeah, so let's talk about get a little bit about what the game series is, and then some of the connections to the trailer and what the series that we've got. Halo in the game is a military science fiction media franchise created by, is it Bungie?
Yeah, Bungie.
And they sold it today.
Just today.
Yep.
They were bought by PlayStation.
It's quite a blow to Xbox.
The franchise is currently managed and developed by 343 Industries and owned and published by Xbox Game Studios until
today.
The central focus of the franchise builds on the experiences of Master Chief, Sierra 117, John, one of a group of super soldiers codenamed Spartans, and his official intelligence,
artificial
intelligence. That's what it says. Artificial intelligence
Not
AI
official.
companion Cortana. All right, so never played the game.
No.
Nope.
Either of you?
Well, okay, I played like part of a first level, so that was it.
Okay, what do you know about the game itself?
I don't personally know much. I know that the story is super rich, and I know that it is considered one of the best in games. The whole trilogy, it's looked to be upon.
There's more than just the trilogy too.
There is more than the trilogy, but the first trilogy is considered to be a great seamless story and really well done, and the ending is fantastic. I don't know personally much about it, but I do know that the games have had highs and lows, especially after the trilogy was over. But it's looking like it's getting higher with the new one that came out.
Yeah.
A lot of people loved it. So,
Sam, what do you know about the game?
Not a lot. All I know is that the Halo, I'm going to butcher this, and all the Halo fans are going to be like, no, you're wrong. Which, we would be doing that at
If it
Star
was
Wars
Star
fans.
Wars, yeah.
So I get to be on the other end of the receiving end this time. But I think the Halo is some massive ring in space that's like a gateway, I think, or like a teleportation device, which was what everybody was comparing that weird city in the latest episode of Book of Boba Fett.
Oh, yeah.
in. They were like, hey, is that meme like Star Wars, can I copy your homework, Halo? And it's like, yeah, sure, just change it up a little bit. So that's what they were basing off of. But that's basically all I know. I knew it was aliens, I knew it was super soldiers and Master Chief, but that's all I had.
Well, in a move that feels strangely familiar to Star Wars fans, Paramount has decided to create a separate continuity for this Halo TV series. They're calling it the Silver Timeline.
Interesting.
Franchise creative director Frank O'Connor explained it this way, and I quote, the TV show timeline, called the Silver Timeline, is grounded in the universe, characters, and events of what's been established in core canon, but will differ in subtle and not so subtle ways in order to tell a grounded human story set in the profoundly established Halo universe. Where differences and branches arise, they will do so in ways that make sense for the show, meaning that while many events, origins, character arcs, and outcomes will map to the Halo story fans know, there will be surprises, differences, and twists that will run parallel, but not identically to core canon. Sam, apparently there's a lot of lore and extended Halo canon outside of the game series. There's books and a bunch of other stuff with this. Based on our experience navigating Star Wars canon versus Legends and some of that stuff that's gone on since the Disney era, what are some of the pitfalls and opportunities that could come from this kind of creative decision?
Yeah, there's always a risk when you're doing this. I think ultimately, when you're going to make a series or a movie like this, you have to create an original story. Otherwise, it's utterly predictable. And while some fans might like it, you could just play the game. So you kind of have to tell a new story. But then there's the trouble of, well, how much is it similar to the original? What do they pull from it? Is it completely different? Is it the same? And regardless of what decision you make, you're always going to upset some fans. It's inevitable. But for people like us who have zero previous experience with this, we're fine with whatever, as long as it's a fun story and it's good or whatever. But yeah, the pitfalls with this is you're going to upset some people, but that does open up new opportunities to explore more of the universe or explore the characters in different ways. So there's advantages and disadvantages to it all, but it's always difficult.
Yeah, it is super complicated and very risky for them to try this. Like I know one of the big things that is being criticized right now is I think the humans. A human is leading the enemies,
the Covenant.
Yeah,
that's something.
And that's something that people aren't liking.
And Cortana isn't.
Yeah,
blue.
we'll talk about all that. Yeah.
But honestly, I think that what they're doing with this series is they're just trying to tell the story that they love in a way that'll fit for a TV series, because it is very different than it's a very different medium. And you can look at The Witcher. The Witcher is loved, but it also is very different from the games and very different from the books. They did take some liberties with it, and yet it is highly praised. So just kind of have to wait and see what happens.
Let's look at some of the main characters that are in the trailer and that in the game, and obviously going to be a part of the series. Obviously, we have to start with the Master Chief, John 1:17. The Master Chief is a towering super soldier known as a Spartan, raised and trained from childhood for combat.
Like a clone.
Yeah, he's almost faceless, rarely seen without his green-colored armor and helmet.
Which is awesome.
Sam, I'm so sorry. That's a Boba Fett reference right there, isn't it? He's commonly referred to by his naval rank rather than his given birth name. With over 30 years of active duty service, he has become one of the most decorated war veterans in the United Nations Space Command.
So Space Force.
Space Force.
Yes.
Are you going to work for them someday?
Maybe.
Okay.
If I get to wear Master Chief armor, sure.
You want to go to space?
If I get to wear the cool armor.
Okay. Earning him every known UNSC medal except Prisoner of War medallion, because apparently he's never been captured.
Because he's too good.
He's too good.
Too good at his job.
All right. So, Nate, since he was created as a video game character, it makes sense that the Master Chief remains largely faceless. How do they handle this in a TV series that's not called the Book of Boba Fett?
You keep him faceless. That was shown in the trailer. They did show him from the back whenever he had his helmet off, and he always kept it on. And I feel like that's what they're going to be trying to put in with this series, the mystery of who he is and how he's handling everything. And that is a large respect to the fans that have gotten to know this character and actually have already had some backstory for him. And so I think that it will be very interesting to see how they handle it. If they do decide to take the helmet off a lot, that might be a mistake on their part, but I don't think they will.
Sam.
I've heard that they changed the voice actor, and a lot of people, it's tough for them because they've been used to hearing this one voice for 20 years now. And it's tough for them to get used to that. But I think the reason why they do that is because they're going to inevitably show the face and they want it to match up. So it is risky to show the face, but I don't think it's ultimately a bad thing. I think if it fits the character, it'll be fine. Just keep giving the character the treatment that people are used to.
All right.
Anyway.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about Cortana. Cortana is a fictional, artificially intelligent character in the Halo video game series. During gameplay, Cortana provides backstory and tactical information to the player, who often assumes the role of a Master Chief Petty Officer John 117. That's your character, right?
Right.
In the story, she is instrumental in preventing the activation of the Halo installations, which would have destroyed all sentient life in the galaxy. Although Cortana will be voiced by Jen Taylor, the same actress who voiced her in the game franchise, the character, I think you kind of alluded to this earlier, looks dramatically different in this trailer. So Sam, some are suggesting that the show go ahead and Sonic the Hedgehog the character, make her more like the game version. Do you think it's important to do that?
I don't know. I mean, even when I saw her, it was a little bit off-putting just based on what little knowledge I have of that character, because I'd seen some pictures of her, and same with Master Chief. But it's weird that they've made everything else look so accurate to the game. Master Chief looks like a spitting image, even some of the Covenant aliens and ships, all that looks just like the game. But then they go and change her to where it looks different. I don't know why they would do that. I don't think it's a huge deal. Again, my responses to this are going to be very different than the fans.
Yeah, that's why I'm interested to hear.
I wouldn't mind if they went ahead and changed it to where she was blue or something. I don't think it, but again, I'm kind of indifferent. I don't think it makes much of a difference as long as the character functions the same and they're even able to maybe dive into her character a little bit more. I think it'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what they'll do with this character. I don't think they'll go back and change it. I think that they made this decision for a reason. The Sonic the Hedgehog, that was just a mistake. A really stupid
That was
mistake.
Creepy looking. It looked creepy.
And they changed that really fast. It is a very different situation. She does have a blue hue to her, though, and I think that people are missing that. I know that her skin isn't blue, and that is off-putting from the game, but I think that they're still trying to make it like that, but make it like what they said, more grounded and more put into this universe. And they said there will be differences, there will be changes in subtle ways and not so subtle ways, and I think this is one of those more subtle ways that they're trying to change it to be feeling more human and personal.
The bad guys are called the Covenant Empire. They're also simply referred to as the
Why is it that in space movies it's always an empire that's the bad guys?
Because an empire is always the bad guys.
That's a good point.
It's a theocratic collection of multiple alien species that maintained control over a large portion of the Orion Arm in the Milky Way galaxy.
What's theocratic mean?
Theocratic is like a religiously focused empire.
Gotcha.
Got it. Cult.
Big cult.
Big cult.
The Covenant was a political, military, and religious affiliation.
That would have explained it.
Exactly. Originally a mutual alliance between the San Shayum and the Sangeli. I have not pronounced those correctly, and so don't tweet us.
Don't at me.
Yeah, that's right. Don't at me. There you go. Following a brutal conflict between the two warring races, its expansion to include at least 6 other races united in the worship of the Forerunners and the Halo Array soon began after the original formation. The Covenant waged a genocidal campaign against humanity until they were formally defeated due to many factors, the most crucial of which was an internal conflict that broke out between the Covenant, within the Covenant, shattering it in two, forcing out the entire Sangeli species and splintering them into separate groups.
So we got Empire, we got Separatists. Whoa, this is just Star Wars.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Not at all.
Sam, the Covenant are the main villains of the game franchise. It's pretty clear that they'll be the same in this series. What Sam's compelling about them?
Honestly, I think the religious element's interesting. There's always the, Empire's, political element, and you get that in tons of stories, but having a religious zealot kind of feel to it is really interesting. It's more compelling, and it almost can help explain the crazy things they do just because they're overly zealous about things. So I just think that's interesting.
Definitely. I like the characters. I'm very interested in seeing this enemy group, since they're so powerful, how this this weapon, these people, these special troops are going to be able to defeat it. And of course, I don't know the Halo game, so I don't know how it turns out. But I do know that the ending is really impressive and very compelling. And I'm excited to see how that's done at that point. And maybe this will be like Invincible for me. Maybe I'll watch the first season and immediately go and try to find a way to play the games or something like that.
That's cool.
I think we can play them on the Xbox 360, actually.
Yeah, you guys have that, don't you?
We just don't have the games.
You just don't have the games. Well,
that voice crack
was awesome.
Anyway,
he's still bitter, a little broken up about Boba Fett. I've never been remotely interested in Halo, in the least, or even aware really, obviously, about what the game was about.
Yeah, because you thought they were paratroopers.
Yep. With it, but this trailer has done its job. I'm willing to give the premiere a watch in March. What happens after that? We'll just have to wait and see.
Yes, sir.
On that. It's time for some movie moments.
It is.
2 movies, I guess, are releasing this week. Sort of. One we might see. Mm-hmm. One we definitely won't see.
No.
That's up next on Movie Moments.
At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge.
All right. First new release is a one I refuse to say, so I will move this to father.
He's afraid it's a bad word.
No,
I mean, kind of.
It is in the way
but
they're
not in the King James version.
Not in the King James version, and not in mainly the way that most people, well, not most people, some people would think it is, but they're implying it in the other way.
Well, no, it's Jackass Forever.
Yeah.
So, anyway. Tell us about the movie.
Well, after 11 years, the crew is back for their final crusade, which I would assume that the last one was their final crusade and they just wanted some money. But the director is Jeff Tremaine, and the cast is Johnny Knoxville, Chris Pontius, and Steve-O. Studio is Paramount.
Steve-O.
And the MPA rating is R for strong crude material and dangerous stunts.
There's
graphic
dangerous
nudity
stunts?
and language throughout. Going yes or no? This is a no.
No.
What?
Just a slight
It's
no.
not on our list.
It has never been on our list.
That's never. No. In fact, I'm so tired of the trailers.
I know. It's
Honestly.
insane.
I'm ready for
trailer.
it to be,
It's just the one.
Yeah, I'm ready for it to be in the theater, so I don't have to watch that trailer.
Exactly.
anymore.
This next one, speaking of really bad trailers,
This is such a weird promotional
Moonfall.
campaign.
The description: a mysterious force knocks the moon from its orbit around the Earth and sends it hurtling on a collision course with life as we know it. With mere weeks before impact and the world on the brink of annihilation, NASA executive and former astronaut Jo Fowler is convinced she has the key to saving us all. But only one astronaut from her past, Brian Harper, and conspiracy theorist Casey Houseman believe her. These unlikely heroes will mount an impossible last-ditch mission into space, leaving behind everyone they love, only to find out that our moon is not what we think it is. Now, the director is Roland Emmerich, who has done a lot of great stuff.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pronounced Emmerich, just so you know.
Emmerich, whatever. His cast is Halle Berry.
Hallie.
Okay.
She was Storm.
She was. And
Catwoman.
And the Catwoman.
Yeah.
That one, though.
Patrick Wilson and John Wilson, not related. The studio, I'm pretty
Maybe
sure.
I've typed in the wrong thing.
You might have, but it's all good. The studio is Centropolis Entertainment. The MPA is PG-13 for violence, disaster, action, strong language, and some drug use. Going, yes or no?
I mean, yes, just to see what it ends up being like. We've been perplexed by this movie's advertisement so far. First trailer, whoa, this seems so interesting. Second trailer, okay,
it's a
this
sci-fi
is
disaster thriller.
interesting.
Okay.
Last one, what the heck is it? They've been like shooting themselves in the foot almost with their own marketing. So I'm curious to see what it ends up being like.
Yes.
This is one of those where there hasn't been a lot of good movies lately to go see. I mean, we can go see Spider-Man again, which is awesome, or we can see a new movie. We'll probably end up seeing this when we have time.
Yeah.
Yes.
If
With
we ever
A-list,
have time.
because that's just we have.
Because we have A-list.
Because we have A-list. Now for trailers this week, we got a final trailer for Uncharted. I guess you could call it a final trailer. It was only 1 minute and 40 seconds, but honestly, great trailer. I really enjoyed it. And
When does that
cannot
come out?
Wait for this movie. February.
So just a couple weeks.
17th.
17th.
Oh,
Thursday
that's
premiere.
right. Yeah.
Sammy decided to do a blimp that day.
I didn't
so
decide.
We
That's
won't
when
be
I
able
was
to watch
scheduled.
it.
Never mind.
You want me to cancel?
Yeah, cancel. Just kidding. Box office numbers. Spider-Man No Way Home is in the top with 11 million domestic and now at a whopping 1.7 billion worldwide. Scream is at 7 million domestic and only a small 100 million worldwide, which is a little worrying. And Sing 2 somehow has came away with 4 million domestic and has, for some reason, 267 million worldwide.
That's a
more
success.
than Scream, which is impressive.
A lot more than Scream.
Yes.
So, that's good.
All right. And now it's back to me.
Back to you.
Doomsday is finally Not in this show.
I know, that was
We'll
crazy.
talk all about that and more coming up.
Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Yeah, I can fly.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
The people in this room, which one is A, wearing a spangly outfit, and B, not of use?
There's only one God, man. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
Batman has no limits.
That was a switcheroo in a big way because he looked just like Doomsday when his first appearance in that comic book. I'm watching it. I'm assuming, yeah, this is where it's going. I'm waiting for the bird to fly into his hand,
Right.
And him to destroy it.
Squish
and
it.
It didn't. Yeah. Anyway,
happen.
It wasn't the same way that I expected.
Dad, a rating of this episode from 1 to 10 uncharacteristic surprise twists.
Characteristic surprise twist. That was funny. I'm gonna give this one a 7, and here's why. All right, 45 minutes of teen drama.
Yeah.
And 15 minutes of big twist.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'd like a little more Superman and a little less, can I say it? A little less Lois and a lot less Jordan and his love triangle with Sarah.
So it's like what they did with Cobra Kai. You want more karate.
I need a little
high
bit
school
more
drama.
I needed a little bit more Superman in this one. A real Superman.
Yeah.
And the other one too, but we'll talk about that. So,
of course. So let's talk about a couple of the big things from this episode, since not much really happened, honestly.
Okay.
But let's talk about Lois and her whole predicament. Now, we moved absolutely nowhere with this plotline in this episode, but we are starting to learn more of Lois's childhood, which seems to be a main focus in this season for her. But with the surprise at the end of the episode, it seems like Lucy Lane.
That's her sister.
Yes, ended up joining back into the cult that almost killed her. Now, Dad, how is this storyline going to tie into the main plot, if at all? And what are your thoughts on this plotline?
It's a really good question because I can't figure it out. It doesn't seem like the cult thing is. I mean, I know we talked about it before on previous conversations on the show about how the Morgan Edge stuff didn't feel like it fit in the first season, and then all of a sudden it's like central to the plot. And that we kind of thought maybe the cult stuff would do that in this. There's a couple different plot lines that are like that right now. You've got the cult story with the podcast and all of that. The mayoral campaign, which really just does feel like a Smallville story.
It does.
To keep Lois or to keep Lana
building the Smallville.
Yeah. And so I'm okay with that one.
Yes.
Right. I'm not so okay with the Jonathan drugs, the XK, the XK stuff, and how that may be tying into this somehow. It just feels like
it'll tie into the
there's all these
kryptonite drugs.
He's going to
Jonathan's taking kryptonite drugs.
Yes,
pay attention.
They have kryptonite drugs.
They do. If you watched the show,
you'd know.
You would know this. So stand over there and just listen. All right. Okay. Sorry about the listeners. He doesn't pay attention to the show. Anyway. So he's taking XK or going to, it just feels, and then the Jordan, Sarah love twit, thing, which was really over the top.
It was. And I think it's done this episode. They're like, okay, let's move on.
It was really, really over the top.
It was
this one, with it. And so all of that seems like, again, it goes back to, there's so many different plot lines right here. They need to come together. Even the John Henry, Natalie stuff.
That'll tie in.
It has to tie in.
Will.
But there's so many of these little things going on that it's hard to follow what's the story really about.
I think that Jonathan and his XK thing is going to tie into the cult, with the fact that the cult does deal with drugs a lot, and this is a new drug that's going around, and I feel like that might tie into it. I think that the XK is going to activate the powers lying dormant in John's cells in his DNA.
So he's going to become super powered like his brother and like his
most
dad.
likely.
The one circumstance where doing drugs actually helps you.
Right.
Unless he turns bad.
Which that might be the case. But
it's true.
I think we're getting that. The whole Lois cult thing, I'm still wondering how it's going to tie into everything. But I feel like it is really important to the main plot. I just don't know.
Well, it's central to the story of this season.
It would be.
So
I don't know how it's going to tie in with Bizarro. But speaking of Bizarro, we had a bizarre twist. Well, we get the full reveal on who the villain is, and it is surprisingly not Doomsday as we were led to believe.
Oh my gosh, that was such a bait and switch.
They flat out lied.
They flat out lied, and then even in this episode, he comes out looking like Doomsday from the comic book. That's not nice.
It's Bizarro Superman, his evil.
I'm very upset about it. I'm going to do a rant at the end, just like
so.
Sam.
Tad, what do you think of this twist? Disappointed or relieved and excited that Superman will not die in this season?
Supposedly.
Yeah, that's a great question. You know what? I hadn't even thought about Superman dying in this episode or in this season as a result of what's going on or not happening with this. All I could think about was, it just felt. I don't know, a little bit. I'm fine with Bizarro Superman. Bring in Bizarro Superman. I mean, I knew it was Bizarro Superman from the second you see the part of his face. Yeah. I look over at you, I'm like, that's not Doomsday. And you're like, nope. I'm like, that's Bizarro Superman.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah. I mean, even me having not read a ton of the comics, I knew what was going on in this. The problem was they said Doomsday, they pitched Doomsday, they teased Doomsday, they show up with him looking like Doomsday, and then they don't. And it felt a little bit insincere in the way that
I do think, if I'm not mistaken, they had Doomsday in Supergirl. I might be wrong. I'm not 100% confident in that. And that's why I was a little worried that they were going to bring in Doomsday with this series. Do you think they used Bizarro to tell the Doomsday plot?
Same idea, same story, but just with a different villain.
Same kind of thing, because that would fit a little bit better within the type of show that Superman and Lois is.
The only thing I can think of that may actually happen is if they... I don't want them to just mirror the Doomsday storyline, the Doomsday plot using Bizarro Superman. There's this moment in the underground, in the mine, when they see the crystals... and there's blood on it and all of this. And the way the crystal, I mean, even at that, I think that was before we knew it was Bizarro Superman. Right?
Yes.
We see the crystals and it looks to me like the bone spurs on the comic version of Doomsday. And that made me think of the Doomsday. Now that's obviously because I was expecting Doomsday.
Yeah, exactly.
With that. But that if they find a way to maybe have Bizarro Superman reacting to the solar stuff that John Henry did and some of the other things that they're trying to do, and maybe he morphs into a version of Doomsday, and that's where they go with this.
People are wondering if they're going to just combine Doomsday and Bizarro.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that idea. I just don't want it to be, hey, you expect Doomsday, you make him look like Doomsday. Yeah, sorry, it's not Doomsday, it's Bizarro Superman, and then we go with a completely different storyline after that.
I feel like because they were pitching... The guy was talking strongly about this being Doomsday, so I do think that he's planning on telling that storyline with this. And the fact that kryptonite does not affect Bizarro but makes him stronger is going to really play into this whole storyline, especially with XK.
The XK,
giving people powers and making people stronger, and that's going to tie in a lot with Jonathan as well. And of course, we cannot forget about the amazing Dad Clark moment of him being punched by Jonathan, and then him not reacting, and then having to fall over.
He's standing there getting punched by his own son. And then he's like, oh wait. And then he falls over because there was a bunch of people standing around.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It was great. That part was a lot of fun. Well, this episode wasn't that bad. And it
wasn't bad.
It still felt like Superman and Lois, which is something I've been worried about.
It didn't feel like Lois and Clark, even though that's what I've been calling it
all week. And I cannot wait for more Bizarro when it happens there, and if they decide to go with the Doomsday plot. But do not forget to tune in tonight on the CW network to see what happens next.
Or tomorrow, like us.
Yeah, or Wednesday.
Whenever we get to it.
Exactly.
All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
Anything else?
Yeah, so the Spider-Man No Way Home writers had plans for more Daredevil scenes.
Yeah, that would have been pretty cool.
I don't think anybody would have complained.
Have you gotten very far in Daredevil?
No, we haven't watched any more.
Why didn't you watch that instead of Tron Legacy?
I don't know. I offered to do that, but Sammy didn't want to.
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah. Matt Reeves posted a 3-minute scene from the Batman.
Oh, yeah.
We've all seen it. I'm going to just have BB-N8 react.
It was fantastic. Everything about it, from the score having this kind of horror feel building up to the car crashing in, especially when Bruce is looking up at the silhouette of the Riddler just standing there, taunting him. And then him just walking away. The fact of you can see Bruce being absolutely terrified and concerned with the fact that this is directed to him, to the Batman, not to Bruce, not to anybody there, but him directly, and him knowing that he's going to have to figure this out.
And he can't do anything
about it at that point until everybody's evacuated. And we do know that he comes back eventually, but this is going to really, Robert did not say one word as Bruce in this scene, yet you got so much emotion and so much telling from him, which just means he's going to be a fantastic Bruce.
You're confident.
I am confident, but he did see a little kid, an orphan kid, and everybody's like, this is Robin right there.
Oh, really? I never even made the Robin connection, but I did, watching it, think a lot about, they've already said they're not going to do the origin story, the death of Thomas and Martha Wayne, all that kind of stuff. But this is sort of a way to have that story be a part of this. Because he's at the funeral of this little boy and he sees himself in that little boy.
Yeah.
That's what I was envisioning with it. And I love the fact that that's a way for all of us who know this story to be connecting with that origin moment without them having to tell the origin story. It was really good on that. EA announced 3 new Star Wars games this week.
Wow.
2 that are still in development and nobody knows what they are.
Actually, we do. We know one's a strategy game and the other's a first-person shooter, a lot like Battlefield.
Okay.
Battlefront.
News to me. All right.
Yes.
But I was traveling all week last week.
You were.
But the big one is, of course, the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's going to be pretty
exciting.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much. We got, this Friday, we've got our episode with Brainy Pixels and new, I forgot what the name of the media company, and I was typing it in and I got distracted and I forgot. Mercy Way Media. That's it. Yeah, which are awesome. Those guys were fabulous.
They're fab.
Having a great conversation with them, and let's just say I talked about taking both Sam and Nathan to Israel to a specific location on that episode. So maybe they'll listen to this one. Cufflinks.com. Thank you guys so much for sponsoring the show.
Thank you.
Totally appreciate that. Thank you guys for being so awesome and being a part of our Star Wars universe. And thank you for listening to Tatooine Sons, a pop culture podcast.
If you had a good time listening, it would be awesome if you could share this with your friends.
Yeah, and of course, the show, it's only a small part of the Tatooine Sons world, so be sure to like us on Facebook and join our Facebook discussion group. And follow us on Twitter to get in on all the action and keep up to date on everything we got going on at TatooineSons.com.
That's right. Don't forget to follow the show on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss our next episode coming out on Friday. And then another one on Tuesday. Sorry.
Friday.
Hiccups. Please give us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Podchaser.com, whatever podcast app you prefer to use. Anything else you guys want to say?
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you, always.
This party's over.
I like that Wookiee.
Don't get technical with me.
Joy, please. Yep, yep.